Okay, let's dive into a guide that can honestly transform mealtimes for people with swallowing difficulties. We're talking about making every single bite safer and, just as importantly, more enjoyable.
I mean, just imagine that for a second. For millions of people, this is their reality every single day. This simple act of eating can be packed with anxiety. But, and this is the good news, understanding the solution can turn mealtime from a source of fear into one of confidence.
So, this condition has a name. It's called dysphagia. And it's important to know it's not a disease in itself. It's actually a symptom of other medical issues. And believe me, it's way more common than you'd think. The risks are pretty serious if it's not managed the right way.
Get this, about 1 in every 25 adults in the US faces this challenge every single year. That's a huge number, right? And it really highlights why it's so critical to have clear, safe guidelines for everyone involved. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by looking at the real challenges of swallowing. Then, we're going to talk about a new global standard for safety, figure out what soft and bite-sized actually means, and cover the do's and don'ts of food. We'll also touch on nutrition and dignity, and wrap it all up with a handy safety checklist.
All right, let's start with the why. Because understanding the serious risks that come with unmanaged dysphagia, well, that's the absolute first step to making mealtimes safe again.
And you know, the dangers go way beyond just the immediate fear of choking. We're talking about things like aspiration. That's when food or liquid accidentally goes into the lungs, which can lead to pneumonia. It can also cause malnutrition, dehydration, and just a major hit to a person's quality of life.
So, to combat these risks, experts from all over the world came together and created something brilliant. A single, unified safety framework that everyone, no matter where they are, can understand and use. It basically gets rid of all those old, confusing terms like nectar thick or honey thick. I mean, what does that even mean? It could be interpreted differently everywhere. The new way is precise, it's globally recognized, and it's called the International Dysphagia Diet Standardization Initiative, or, much easier, IDDSI for short. And this is it, the IDDSI framework. It's this beautiful, clear, 8-level scale. It covers everything from thin liquids like water at level 0 all the way up to regular food at level 7. It creates a common language for safety that patients, caregivers, and doctors can all use. No more guesswork. Now, to see how this actually works in the real world, let's zoom in on one of the most common diet recommendations out there. Level 6, also known as soft and bite-sized.
Okay, so for level 6 foods, there are a few core rules. They have to be soft, tender, and moist. For an adult, the food pieces can't be any bigger than 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters. And while you still need to be able to chew, you shouldn't need a knife to cut it.
And here's the science behind it, which is just brilliant. That 1.5 centimeter size isn't just some random number they picked. It's based on the average width of an adult's windpipe. A piece of food that size is much, much less likely to cause a complete blockage if it's accidentally inhaled. It's a life-saving detail. And the best part? You can make sure food is safe with a super simple test you can do at home. First, check the size. Then, just take the side of a fork or spoon and press down on the food. It should be fork tender, meaning it squashes and breaks apart easily, no problem. Okay, so we know the rules. Now let's get practical. What does this actually look like on a dinner plate? First things first, let's talk about the kinds of foods that are the riskiest. So, some foods are just naturally risky for people with dysphagia, even if they seem soft. We're talking about things that are fibrous or stringy, foods with skins or husks, anything sticky and gummy, or stuff that's hard and crumbly. But one of the biggest risks of all is something called mixed consistency. This soup with croutons, it's the perfect example. Your body has to try and manage two different textures at the same time, a thin liquid and a solid. The danger is that the liquid broth can just slide down into the airway before you've even had a chance to chew the solid croutons properly.
So on the flip side, a safe plate is built with foods that are naturally soft, and this is the most important part, are kept moist. Think tender, diced meats covered in a sauce or gravy, fluffy scrambled eggs, well-cooked pasta, canned fruits, and soft-cooked veggies.
But you know, safety is only one part of the puzzle. We also need to talk about two consequences of a modified diet that often get missed: malnutrition and, frankly, the loss of enjoyment at mealtime. Here's the catch. The whole process of making food soft, which often means adding liquids like water or broth, can seriously water down its nutritional value.
So a person might be eating a full plate of food, but they're still not getting enough calories or protein, and that can lead to weight loss and weakness.
Luckily, the solution is pretty straightforward. Fortification. You can easily boost the nutrition by mixing in high-calorie, nutrient-packed ingredients. Adding a tablespoon of butter to potatoes, some heavy cream to soup, or a scoop of protein powder to a soft cereal can make a massive difference.
And here's another great strategy: supplemental drinks. Making a homemade fortified smoothie can be a simple, really effective, and honestly, a delicious way to pack in extra calories and protein between meals to help hit those daily nutrition goals.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. We're going to boil down the most critical points into a simple checklist you can literally use for every single meal.
So really, it all comes down to this 4-step check. First, check the texture. Is it soft and moist? Use that fork test. Second, confirm the size. Are the pieces small enough? Third, do a quick scan for any of those high-risk foods we talked about. And finally, always ask yourself, how can I boost the nutrition in this meal?
Because, you see, by following these standards, we're doing so much more than just preventing harm. We're helping to restore pleasure, confidence, and dignity to the fundamentally human experience of sharing a meal. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. What if our goal wasn't just to make food safe to swallow, but to make it something to truly look forward to again?
Let's dive into soft food diets. For anyone with trouble swallowing, this stuff is absolutely crucial. I mean, can you imagine if just eating a meal was actually life-threatening? For millions, it is. And it's more common than you might think. About 1 in 25 adults in the US deals with this. The medical term is dysphagia, and the risks are really serious: choking, pneumonia, even malnutrition. So to keep people safe, a global standard was created for food texture, and it's been a game changer. We got rid of all those confusing old terms and now use something called the IDDSI framework. IDDS is basically a universal language for safety with a clear, numbered system for foods and liquids. So let's break it down. We're going to look at 3 key levels in a typical soft diet. First up is level 6, soft and bite-sized. Think tender, moist, and really easy to chew. And the size is everything here. Pieces have to be smaller than an adult's windpipe, about 1.5 centimeters. So how do you know it's safe? You do the fork pressure test. It has to squash down easily. Okay, moving on to level 5, minced and moist. This is for when chewing just gets too difficult. Here, the lumps need to be tiny, no bigger than the space between the tines of a fork. The test is pretty simple. It should hold together on a spoon, but still mash up easily. Now, for the most severe swallowing issues, we have level 4, pureed. No chewing required at all. The texture has to be perfectly smooth. If it's sticky, that's a massive choking hazard. And that's why we have the spoon tilt test. The puree needs to hold together, then just slide right off. But listen, it's not just about getting the right softness. Some foods are just plain risky, period. And what about liquids? Well, modern thickeners like xanthan gum are way safer than old starch-based ones. But there's a big problem here: malnutrition. When you modify food, you can lose a lot of nutrients. So what's the fix? Fortification. You can pack a ton of nutrition back into every single bite. But, beyond all the science and safety, there's another piece: dignity. Nobody wants to eat mush. That's why making food look appetizing is so important. Food molds help make meals look like, well, food again. So when we combine the science with the art of cooking, we're not just keeping people safe, we're honoring them.